Well, Cambridge Everglade, singular, is what Cambridge put in print, but I have seen a price guide and I've seen a trade journal that lists it as Everglades. So we're going to call what Cambridge called Everglade, and I've got a couple catalogs here if you want to look about the early Everglade pieces. And this is an original catalog page that shows Everglade pieces also. The beginning of Everglade was called Springtime, and it generally is this pattern, which is 3 different flowers and then these big chunky loggy feet. This bowl comes in a couple sizes, and made out of that is a plate, and it has the same flower in the center and then 3 different flowers around the outside. This one has a pulled edge on it, and this was made for a worker, and they've made the bowl square and then pulled the edges. It's the only one I've ever seen. Came out of a home in Lower City. And here is, last but not least, a Summit reproduction, and this is how the Springtime bowl comes out of the mold. It comes out shaped like a cereal bowl or salad bowl. They did not have the ability to hand finish. Normally, by Cambridge, these top edges would have been pulled out. And also, they made nappies in Springtime. This is a amber satin, and this is a pink satin. The pink satin was called Rose Dewberry, and this was called Cinnamon. And here is a moonlight nappy that's been flattened, and that was called Mystic Blue. Mystic Blue. And the light emerald was called Jade. And these are pearl mist decorations, which are satin finished on one side only. And for some reason or other, they gave these new color names to these pieces. And here is the crystal one with the candle well in it. And then to go along with the bowls were these like this, but also this one. Now, this is kind of an enigma. There are at least 3 different kinds of flowers on this one. This one has a completely different flower on it. This one has another different flower on it. Some of them have a plain round knob here, and some of them have a flattened knob with panels on it. Some of them have a plain edge here, and some of them have a sawtooth edge here. Some of them, the bases are thinner than others. Some of them have this little extra glass up here, and they have put the little notches on the wafer on these 2. So apparently, they either had trouble with the mold or they were playing, I don't know, they had their own mold shop, so that this wasn't an expensive thing to send something back to the mold shop and change it. The whole idea of Everglade came from France, and we're not sure how many of the pieces were French molds and how many were original Cambridge molds. But I have a sneaking suspicion that a lot of these vases were made in a mold from France that came to Cambridge. Here is an original Montjoy, France cameo vase, which is carved. It's 2 layers of glass and then carved and decorated in gold. And here is what Cambridge came up with. Other than the top, the pattern's identical on it. This is signed Montjoy. And for some reason or other, at the beginning of these vases, they had a shaped top. These have a rectangular top with 2 panels on the end. And as we'll show later on, they changed a lot of these tops. The tulip vase originally came out with this straight top, and later they flared it. These are the two hardest of the Everglade vases to find. This is the orchid vase, and it comes with two different types of top. And here you can see the other type of top has more figure to it. And this was called highlighting, where they satined part of the piece, the background, and left the pattern transparent. Probably one of the most interesting things they made in Everglade was the buffalo hunt bowl. As far as we know, this is an original mold. It's taken off of a Frederick Remington painting of Indians chasing buffalo. And somebody asked, it comes in several different shapes. This, of course, is a flip bowl, which would have had a flower frog in the middle of it. Somebody asked me how they came out of the mold. This is how they came out of the mold, like a great big cereal bowl. This is a Summit reproduction in Blue Carnival. It's actually kind of pretty, but they did not reshape things. And so this is exactly how it came out of the mold. Sometimes they refer to Everglade as the leaf line, and after the springtime pieces came out, leafy things were what they were making. This had to be terribly hard to pull out of the mold. It's too light. And amber, and all of these are manipulated. The tops are flared, the bases are flattened. All of this stuff was manipulated in some way or another. This compote is made out of this goblet. And it has a plain edge with a line in here. And on this you can see the plain edge with the line. And this is a vase you do not see real often in Everglade. And the tops all been manipulated. Every one of these has been pulled. This is kind of a hard piece to find. And then here we have the springtime type candlesticks in forest green. And the doubles in forest green. Again, these are really hard to find. Here is the single candle holder turned into a vase with the lily insert. And here is a forest green vase that has the full manipulated top, and later on they took that away. And again in forest green, the sugar and creamer. Pretty and green. And then the same thing in carmine. Too light. These are really hard to find. And the big bowl, this is probably the hardest piece of Everglade to find in good shape. This, you can just see this was going to be a hard thing to pull out of the mold. And then after that, people using it, it got chipped so easily. Beautiful piece. And here is the 2-light with the lily inserts. They put these in 2 lights and they put them in 1 lights. And then in moonlight, here is the 1 light candlestick, and here is another very odd candlestick. It looks like they've cut this one off, but it isn't. It's a different mold, and it just has a plain top. It's not very attractive, but it's hard to find. And this is called a sherbet in Everglade, which became a part of the Arcadia line later. Sugar creamer in moonlight. Or willow. It's hard to prove which pieces of blue are willow and which pieces are moonlight. This is an unusual piece of Arcadia in moonlight blue. very, very hard to find springtime bowl with the Epergne insert in it. These are kind of a rocky thing. They don't fit good, and it's no wonder any of them didn't survive. I agree completely. And this is the swan tray. Again, this is a French design. Swans and cattails and water lilies. This stuff is kind of unexplainable. We're not exactly sure when they made it, but it's pink opalescent. It all tends to be leafy pieces. We have a couple more pieces of it in the museum, another candlestick and a vase. I was told by a worker that it was made to compete with Duncan Miller's opalescent from the 30s, but we're not sure. We have no record of this at all. This is an unusual rose bowl made out of a goblet, compote mold. And a springtime candlestick in the pink opalescent. Let's see, I skipped the vases, didn't I? Well, I'm not quite ready to talk about them. Crown Tuscan tulip vase, and you can see the difference in the top of this, and as well, this has an all-over grassy pattern on it, which they have now taken away. And so all the background is plain. On this one, there's a lot of detail. And you can see what they've done to the top. Again, the orchid vase in pink. Pink seems to be one of the hardest colors to find Everglade in, which is very strange, because it was such a big seller in this period. And you hardly ever see these. The mug is really rare. And an unexplainable sour plate in Everglade, which, if it's used properly, you can't see the pattern. This did cover a worker, so it may be a sample of some sort. And a white opalescent. Almost looks blue in the light, but it's actually white opalescent, which Duncan Miller did a white opalescent, so it is a possibility that they were copying. Okay, back to the vases. This vase, Cambridge bought this mold from France, and these can be found with Made in France on the bottom of them. They tend to come in dark satin colors, amber and royal blue and forest green. I've never seen a Carmen one. This is a experimental color. Not exactly pretty, but sure is neat. Most of these experimentals were made in the early 30s that we know of, but this mold did come from France. Crystal Everglades, they made almost everything you can imagine. Here is the normal candlestick. And here's an odd one that's pulled up. This is shown in the catalog, so it's not a sample or anything like that. And this guy has the lily insert in it. Nice. This is the goblet, which you hardly ever see, with pearl mist finish on it. And this is what the compotes were all made out of, this same mold. A stein or mug in crystal, which is surprisingly hard to find for some reason or other. And again, the vase you don't see very often in crystal. And the Epergne, which is the vase with the peg on it. It goes into This makes me purr. And you can see how wobbly these things are. They got broken so easily. It's the kind of thing that upset itself. Getting into the last things, milk glass, Everglade. We don't know why they picked what they did pick. The big tulip tray comes in milk glass, and the stein, and the Japanese mum vase, and the daffodil vase. And this has a plainer top now than the other one did. And then violet, which came out reopening period. Here's the tulip vase, again with the plain background. These violet pieces are very hard to find. This is the sunflower vase. And leaves vase, for lack of knowing what it's supposed to be. It's like little pressed in ivy leaves of some sort. Very, very rare Arcadia candlestick in violet. And a beautiful covered candy. And this stuff was very high quality glass. Really, really nice flinty glass. This is way easier to find than the candlestick. We don't know why. In 4041, the catalog showed a new line called Arcadia, and I think all of the pieces are shown on these pages. You're welcome to come up here and look at them. And here's even a full listing of all the pieces that were made in Arcadia. And at one time it was called the leaf line or silver leaf stemware. It's probably a wine glass and a sherbet. And the covered candy. And a torte plate. And a cheese plate made out of candy. Most plates in Cambridge are flattened out of bowls. And here's the piece it was made from, a candy dish. And interesting little candlesticks, again all leafy stuff. And the double candlesticks. Again, the progression from 3031 to 4041. Any questions about Everglade? Oh, the bowl, the tulip bowl? Yeah, this is called highlighting, where they satin finish the background and leave the flowers plain. They called it highlighting. Pretty bowl, wow, really nice. This surprisingly comes in black and milk glass also. Most of these things you can see what colors they're going to come in, but the pink is unexplainable, and the Crown Tuscan seems to be reserved for the 4 vases. And they were in the line. The plate was never in the line, and that we know of, the opalescent was not in the line either. As far as Moonlight Blue goes, some of it is willow blue. The pieces made in the early 30s would be willow blue, and the pieces made in the late 30s, early 40s would be moonlight. I have no idea how you tell the difference. I don't think they're, yes? Yeah, the vase is supposed to look like a lily. Lots of times the colored ones were in clear bottoms. Particularly the red ones were usually in clear bottoms. Yeah. I have seen a black lily. I've seen a black lily, which would be a real goodie.